I have this amazing opportunity to return to a previous employer who I loved working for and didn't really want to leave in the first place, but my current opportunity was too good for me to turn down. Anyways, the original place, which is a direct competitor and a conflict of interest, wants me back to do a very similar role as what I'm currently doing, and I'm honestly in shock about how amazing the offer is. I'm terrified, but I think it's a good kind of terrified. Oh, I love that. I think that's a great way to describe life. I'm expecting to be dismissed immediately. Any advice you could give around approaching this with my current manager when I give my resignation? TLDR, advice on leaving a job for a direct competitor / conflict of interest without burning bridges. Ooh, this happened to me once. Conflict of interest means that you're doing like two jobs at once, or you're working for the competitor when you work for Coke and you're also doing work for Pepsi. So you should not feel like you are in a conflict of interest. You are an opportunist, which is a great thing. And what you're basically saying is you have a job, you have a skill, you have a background in a particular space, and you work for Coke, and the good people from Pepsi were like, ooh, we want him to come do that job for us, and we're going to pay more, we're going to give better resources, it's a better title, there's more responsibility, whatever. I have to be honest, I think you loved working for Pepsi better than you like working for Coke. There's no shame and there's no harm in that decision at all. I think you have to be very, very, very thoughtful, though. And I think you're doing the right thing in talking about being terrified. This decision is going to piss your company off. What my advice would be is do not steal a single piece of email, a contract, a piece of information. Like, do not take anything from your computer and bring it back to the old new place. You have to be very careful about that, because if you do that, then your company will have a reason to come after you. So you have to make sure that you are walking a very, very straight line and a very, very fine line about what you're doing with the information you have access to with your current company. Second thing, you have to expect that when you resign, that you're going to get walked right out of the building. So when you resign, don't have all your pictures and your shit lying around your desk and like unfinished business. Like, you need to expect that when you resign, you're going to get walked out of the building. And then I think the third thing is you just need to be prepared that you're going to leave things in the middle and as they are. And when you make the decision to go back to Pepsi, the decision is final. It's not like they're going to counter. There's not going to be a wavering. You're not going to get to do this whole big goodbye process. You're not going to get to do this whole big goodbye. And you're going to have a lot of unfinished loose ends. Maybe by some grace of God, the Coca-Cola people are going to let you stay and wrap things up. I would highly doubt it. And so, but that said, it's not a conflict of interest, and there's no harm in going to a job that you already love, in a company that you loved working for, in a sector that you're clearly interested in and good at, and making more money as a result. Like, that's a great thing. This happened to me once. We should actually look this up. So when I was at Yahoo, I got an offer from Demand Media, and Yahoo was in the process of acquiring a company called Associated Content, and Demand Media was the single biggest competitor to Associated Content. And Joanne, my old boss, had already left to go to Demand Media. And I was stupid in that I was privy to a lot of information about the Associated Content acquisition. I didn't really pay attention to much of it. I didn't do anything with it, but I was on the invites and in the room. It created a lot of issues for a lot of people. And I remember when I resigned to go to Demand Media, I had to take legitimately the SIM card from my phone, put it in my bra, and was escorted by security out of the building. There's a Forbes article on it. Yeah, it was funny.
Really?
Yeah, we should look it up. Patty Sellers wrote it way back in the day. But anyway, so that's kind of the story of me leaving. People were pissed. They weren't happy with me. There's no harm in going for a job that you know suits you and that's going to pay you well and that creates a better environment for you to be successful. You just, like anything in life, when you realize you're making a decision that makes somebody else happy, you got to double down on your decision and get as quickly as possible to the place where you can make it. Question for you is the second question. I have been with my company for a year and I'm obsessed with it. That's exciting. But with increases in rent and life costs, also known as inflation, I really need a salary raise. What's the best way to present this to my boss? Is this a valid reason to want a raise? Sure. Like there's a big article in the Times this weekend that looked at by industry, the rate of inflation, so how much gas prices are going up, how much rent is going up, how much costs of goods are going up, and then how much salaries are going up. And the rate of inflation, if anybody, I don't know if anyone drives a car and you see how much gas is, like gas is insanely expensive right now, like $5 a gallon. So the cost to live is going up and your salary is not going up at the same rate. This is a tough one because, look, employers, or even like at Barstool, it's like we're not looking at inflation rates and costs of goods and saying, ooh, we're going to jigger up your salary every week or every month as those numbers change. But I do think it's a really fair thing to say to your manager or to HR, hey, how do you guys think about this? Like, will there be a cost of living adjustment at the end of the year? Like, I think that's generally probably a good thing to do, which is, if you make below a certain level of income in a company, that there's a cost of living adjustment. Minimum wage is supposed to protect people against that. But I think that those are good questions to ask. There's not an valid or invalid reason for wanting a raise. I'm sure everybody wants a raise at all times. I want a raise right now. Like I feel like wanting a raise is a very natural thing. I think there's two differences though, which is, hey, the cost to live in New York City, for example, has gone up so dramatically. I'm curious about how the company thinks about that and if the company is going to make adjustments. That's one scenario. That's going to result in a 3 to, maybe a 1% raise. Then there's performance, right? And that's the more exciting piece and the bigger jumps, which is, hey, I'm crushing it in my job. I'm taking more opportunity. Or I'm tackling every opportunity, I'm taking on more responsibility, that can be a jump in your salary from a 3% to a 5% to a 7% to a 10, maybe even a 10%. So I think it's super reasonable to talk to your company about it. And look, if they want to keep you, they might give you a little kiss and give you a little bit more money. They're probably thinking about it more broadly. But you also want to be careful not to say it in a way that alienates you because, if you're truly obsessed, you want to work for this place and you probably would stay working there even though you bring less money home today than you did yesterday. Third question. One of my best girlfriends, and I'm a dude, both got the same job together right out of college. Same entry-level job, same company, both of us with the same experience. We've been in the job now for about 6 months, and I just found out that she's making about $20,000 more than me a year. How do I even bring this up to our manager? I love to be making that much, but I don't want to go to my manager asking for more money simply because I found someone in the same position is making more than me. That's kind of exciting. Go women. People hate this. Like as a manager, you hate when people talk about everybody shares their salary, but let's be honest, people are human and people do that. And even though nobody in management likes it, it happens. One thing I would think about before you have a conversation with anyone is your performance commensurate with your friend? Are you performing at the same level that she is? Are you getting the same amount of projects that she does? Do you get the same amount of feedback, positive feedback that she gets? Like, not all people, even when they're in the same role, are apples to apples, right? Sometimes you have stars in a role, sometimes you have mediocre people in the role, sometimes you have people in the role who suck. Those three people are going to make three different amounts of money. So the first thing you want to do is like check yourself in terms of where you sit against your peers, not just your friend, but in general. 2, 20 grand is a lot of money. So that's a big difference in pay. I would hope the answer to number one in this case is a definitive yes. Like for someone in your exact role to be making 20 grand more than you, unless you make a lot of money, is a pretty big delta. And I think the way I would recommend you manage it, or I would think about managing it, is to go to your manager or to go to HR and say, hey, I hate to bring this up, or it's kind of awkward to bring this up, but as you know, people talk, and there's been some information floating around about people's salaries in our group. And I've learned, and I don't know, I can't verify that this is accurate, but that other people, you don't need to call out or single out your friend, other people in this group in the same position as I'm in are making significantly more money than me. I think the next thing to do is to stay calm and be rational and don't get all emotional and don't out your friend, but basically say, I just would love to understand the salaries for this type of position. Why are some of these roles or people paid significantly more than others? And frankly, what do I need to do to be able to have a higher salary here? That way, it turns the conversation to be about you, which is what you want and what your manager wants too. And then the second thing is it creates awareness about the pay discrepancy, but you're not doing it in like you've got guns blazing and you're giving an ultimatum. You're not doing it in a way that puts your friend at a disadvantage or puts your friend in a bad position, but you're having an honest conversation, which is kind of like, what the fuck? Why do we do the same job and she makes so much more money than me? Companies are crazy. Companies are irrational. Companies make really stupid decisions. Companies overlook stuff. So maybe there's a reason for it and a good reason for it, and maybe there's not. But this way, you kind of go into it knowing where you stand in the group, and you come out of it knowing what you need to do to make that level of salary.